Forget everything you think you know about UFOs and discover groundbreaking new evidence thanks to a new series on the History Channel. Luis Elizondo is a former special agent in charge and director of the Pentagon's mysterious UFO program, and he joins us now with details. Luis, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Great to have you on. So like I mentioned, you were director of the Pentagon's UFO program, and you resigned for a very significant reason. Why was that?
Well, Alex, you know, sometimes when you love an organization and you feel loyalty to that organization and the people within that organization, if you want to fix it, sometimes you have to fix it from the outside. And so I left my beloved department because I wanted to fix some of the issues I saw inside of it, specifically regarding this topic. I resigned, frankly, out of loyalty, not disloyalty. And my loyalty to the man who I worked for ultimately, which was Secretary Jim Mattis, who I had the honor and privilege to serve with in Afghanistan. And he wasn't getting the information he needed to make an informed decision. So I resigned, bottom line, knowing that my resignation letter wouldn't be stopped and he would get a chance to see it. And by the way, Secretary Mattis did kind of the same thing almost a year after I did it. And so I guess out of principle.
And so what was this evidence that you felt was so important that they take care of, that they notice, that wasn't being taken care of?
Well, we were being paid by the American public, taxpayer, to do a job, and the results of which were very compelling. We had eyewitness testimony from some of America's most highly trained observers, flying some of the most sophisticated weapon systems, and what they were seeing and describing was being backed up by radar and even gun camera footage, and that information wasn't being allowed to get to the secretary, and I think that's a problem.
Yeah, it certainly is. And so how is this different than any other series about UFOs or any other report? Because there have been a lot out there, and you know they've been told in many different ways, but what sets this one apart?
This is, first of all, this is not a UFO hunting show at all. And there is a significant difference between a reality show and a show about reality. This is definitely the later. This is a show about reality. There's no scripts, there's no retakes, it's raw footage, and what you see is what you get. In fact, History Channel, when we first were talking to History and they approached us, they committed to assigning some of their most hardened investigative journalists as producers of the show. These aren't entertainers. These folks are hardcore journalists that basically focus on the dark underbelly of mankind. They've investigated things like organized crime and human trafficking, and even some of the camera crew are folks that have spent time in combat zones filming U.S. forces under fire. So this is not a UFO hunting show. This is not a reality show. This is definitely an investigative piece, a show about reality.
Well, taking that methodical approach, you know, as you mentioned with the journalists, also all the other experts that you had on your team will certainly make a difference in starting this conversation. And speaking of that, what do you hope it sparks in the public? What type of conversation do you hope they start having, or the thoughts they start, expressing?
Well, that's up to the American people. That is exactly why we decided to do this show, because we need to bring the conversation to the American public. This isn't grandma saw some lights in the backyard, or, you know, let's wear tinfoil hats. This is real data taken by real weapon systems, by real experts, either law enforcement, military, intelligence personnel. And the time has come where the American people need to decide whether or not this is a national security issue or not. And if it isn't, great, but at least they've had the conversation. If it is, well, then we need to decide how we make it a priority.
Right. Give them the evidence and let the public come up with their own conclusions. Luis Elizondo, thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll be right back.